ways at the end of The Last of Us Part 2, man, I really, really hope you guys go back and either do a prequel or do a sequel in the future. Because The Last of Us Online, obviously, we're not going to get now. And that was, I think, going to satiate us. So I really, really hope that you guys, for what it's worth.
And look, I meant what I said in the documentary.
Don't.
Don't what?
Don't give me hope.
Don't let me leave, Murph. Don't let me leave, Murph. No! 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 No!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we're back for another video discussing The Last of Us and its potential sequel, The Last of Us Part 3. So guys, a lot of thoughts. The Last of Us HBO Season 2 just wrapped up, and trust me, maybe there'll be a time where I discuss it in its entirety. But yes, definitely have mixed opinions on it. I'm not gonna say it's amazing. You know, I definitely have issues with a lot of things with how it went, and unfortunately was not as good as Season 1 in my personal opinion. Definitely took a step down. The writing and a bunch of other issues I had. Like I said, maybe we'll discuss it more in a separate video, but definitely, you know, it just makes me realize how much more love I have for the games. Part 2 in particular. You know, it's a game I actually, when I played the first time 5 years ago almost, crazy, it's almost me saying that I had a mixed opinion on. You know, and now to this day, it's now one of my favorite games I've ever played. 5 years later, almost. Crazy how that works, huh? And now with the show wrapped up, Season 3 has already been confirmed. That is coming in likely 2027. So, as for Naughty Dog content, it's going to start dwindling down a little bit, but we're going to be shifting mainly our focus to Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. The brand new IP coming from Naughty Dog, which, if it does come out in 2027, we have a pretty big stacked year. If you're a Naughty Dog fan, you have the 3rd season of the HBO show for The Last of Us and Intergalactic. And we also have that other unannounced game, which I do believe is not The Last of Us Part 3, which we'll talk a little bit about in this video. But you came here for The Last of Us Part 3. Recently, Neil Druckmann talked about it a bit more, and this is probably the most we've gotten out of him in a pretty little while. Alright guys, if we go for 2,500 likes on this video, greatly would appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you do enjoy my content covering The Last of Us, Naughty Dog, or any of their other games. Be sure to hit the notification bell, have it set to all so you don't miss any of my content covering The Last of Us / Naughty Dog. And join over the 30% of you are subscribing the red subscribe button, and over the 101,000 people that have all notifications turned on for the channel by hitting that all notification bell. All my social media down below, Discord, Twitter, TikTok, all that, link down below. Alright guys, let's get straight into it. A little over a month ago, guys, I uploaded a video talking about The Last of Us Part 3, and my god, the support we got on it was phenomenal. So thank you so much, everybody. We talked about some recent interviews and how the stars would have to align for a potential Last of Us Part 3, which were Neil Druckmann's own words on the topic. Now, since then, he had a directed episode, which was episode 6, and he was on the Sacred Symbols Plus podcast, where he got asked at the end of the interview about The Last of Us Part 3, and, you know, whether we're gonna see more Last of Us again in terms of the game, not just the show, right? Because everyone, like I said, I think everyone's a little showed out. The fatigue you're starting to see the fatigue a little bit with the show, especially even after the 2nd season. We just want a new game at this point, if you're a really diehard Last of Us fan. Of course, the show is always welcome, but games first.
I think I speak for most Last of Us fans, although I don't want to speak for everyone, where it's like, man, we want more, you know. And it's not even the TV show. It's like, there's so much to say. There's the whole 20 years between the events that started the game and when the game really begins. There's what happens after the boat, when the boats are going separate ways at the end of The Last of Us Part 2. Man, I really, really hope you guys go back and either do a prequel or do a sequel in the future. Because The Last of Us Online, obviously, we're not going to get now. And that was, I think, going to satiate us. So I really, really hope that you guys, for what it's worth.
And look, I meant what I said in the documentary, which I guess while I am the caretaker of this franchise. Again, whatever the right title is that Sony has entrusted me with, it's important for me that everything is of high quality. I don't want to just make a lot of it. I just want to be very thoughtful about everything that we make. You know, when we made like a theme park thing, we teamed up with Universal and teamed up with the best people to do that kind of like Halloween haunted house, whatever you call it. When we did the show, now we've teamed up, I feel like, with the best TV makers, with HBO, and we're making the best version of that. So if we were ever to come back to it, I want to make sure that it's a story worthy of The Last of Us. And I love that world. I love these characters. With the right opportunity, with the right idea, yeah, I would totally jump at it.
This whole Last of Us Part 3 on-off thing has been one of the craziest things to cover in my channel's history. We've covered some crazy things. Because one minute it seems like, well, we're gonna get it, and the next minute it seems like we're not. Because Neil and Naughty Dog, how they are, this is how they've been for a long-ass time. It's the hot-cold method. You know, one minute we're making it, the next minute, you know, it might not happen. So what Neil had pretty much ended up saying here is that he meant what he said in the Grounded documentary, which, let me play the clip really quick of the Grounded documentary.
I've been just thinking about, okay, is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept. But recently that's changed. And I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as 1, as exciting as 2, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
That documentary was last February 2024, and remember that was recorded in 2023. So in all likelihood, let's be honest, Naughty Dog is working on Intergalactic. They are working on potentially a brand new IP / new Uncharted, which we talked about. That secret game. You can go check out that video linked in the card or in the description down below. And potentially behind the scenes, a third game, which I believe is The Last of Us Part 3, which is probably in the early stages of development. Again, I think even the earliest we could get a potential Part 3 is the end of the decade, maybe even early 2030, because it just doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon with all the other Naughty Dog projects currently at the kennel. But Neil reiterating that he meant what he said, because again, at the same time, remember he said a couple months ago, he's like, don't bet on there being more The Last of Us. Now, in a recent interview again, he's saying, I meant what I said in the Grounded documentary. The moral of the story is to not believe anything that comes out of Neil's mouth. Neil, you know how he is. He is a liar. And again, not for malicious intent, he is not going to say The Last of Us Part 3 is in development until it is revealed. Same thing as Intergalactic. You know, he hinted at stuff. But again, The Last of Us 3, if it does happen, he wants to be a surprise. He wants to be a major thing. Like he said, he's not going to try to interfere with the show or Intergalactic by just throwing it a random announcement of it in a podcast or an interview. He also said, while I'm the caretaker of this franchise, it's important that everything is of high quality. I don't want to just make a lot of it. I want to be very thoughtful about everything we make. Well, we made a theme park thing. We teamed up with Universal and the best people to do that, Halloween Haunted House attraction. When we did the show, we teamed up, I feel, with the best TV makers with HBO, and we're making the best version of that. Well, after season 2, you know, I have some questions with that. If we were ever to come back to it, I want to make sure it's a story worthy of The Last of Us. I love that world. I love these characters. With the right opportunity, with the right idea, yeah, I would totally jump at it. Which kind of, in essence, really reiterates the stars having to align interview, which I talked about in my last video last month. You know, him and Hallie's faces were pretty interesting in that, especially Hallie, you know, she was smirking, kind of like the eyes. You could just tell a little bit when you watch those interviews that, you know, they might know deep down the answer to that question. They're just never going to say, but the faces, they do tell a story, I will say. And what reason would Neil even have to respond to this question? I'm just telling you all, you can deny this all you want. You can tell me a liar, clickbait, whatever you want to say. The Last of Us Part 3 is coming. And when it is there, I will be there on Judgment Day. I like to call it Judgment Day because, listen, I've been wrong before. I'll be the first one to admit that. But I don't tend to be wrong a lot. I just have a good feeling that down the line, The Last of Us Part 3 will be here. And, you know, Neil definitely, and Naughty Dog, yeah, and they have to be passionate about it. And if Neil's saying, I love the characters, love the world, I would, if the right opportunity came up, I would do it again. I guarantee you, behind the scenes, that opportunity has probably already initially started about what the story is, what the characters are going to be like, what the world is, where they're going to continue this story. Because listen, it is the final chapter. You need to end it on a bang. Because like I said, yes, you can end it on part 2. Some people think that is a fine ending. I've always said from the beginning, I think it is a cliffhanger type ending. It could be, you know, left open, like I said, part 1 could be as well. But I feel like there's too many threads not closed for there to be the, you know, for that to be the ending of the story. So I feel like a part 3 is inevitable. And it's always so nice to hear that you want it to be high quality. You want it to be something that's not, you know, we don't make just a million games that are just, you know, because again, he's kind of calling out like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, a lot of these games that just throw out sequel after sequel after sequel, year after year. Again, not saying those games are bad or anything, but again, Naughty Dog is becoming kind of a rock star of sorts. They're going to take their time. They're going to make sure a game is of the highest quality when it releases. Again, time will tell if Intergalactic and the other new IP in Part 3 live up to those expectations. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be like a GTA 6, because again, let's be honest, I think GTA 6 is a lock for Game of the Year next year, barring any anything. I don't think there's going to be any scenario where GTA 6 doesn't win it, but we'll see. Time will tell. But overall, I think it is exciting that Neil seems to be kind of more on the positive side. You're starting to hear some more positive responses in terms of the question. And again, I'm sure we'll hear in a month or two that Neil's saying, oh, it's not going to happen again. That's just how Neil is. So again, this game is still probably a ways out, but I think overall, you guys should definitely be keeping a smile and definitely be excited that, yes, it seems like we will be getting more. I wish I could tell you guys when, but it seems like it's still going to be a ways off. But get excited. Summer Game Fest is coming up. We might hear some stuff on Intergalactic. Maybe. Doubt it. But, you know, at least before the end of the year, I'm hopeful of that. Or maybe even 2026. We'll see. But as for now, keep your eyes open for more content in regards to Naughty Dog, Intergalactic, any of that stuff. And I want to thank you all so much for the support on these videos. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy this. Let's go for 2,500 likes on this video. And I want to thank you all so much for watching. Peace and love, and have a great day. Bye-bye.